Welcome to this week's edition of Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ BRAMLETT. Back again with my super producer, Ryan Wall. And hey, Bay Area trip, anything can happen. Got a good win over Cal and then a little buzzsaw in Stanford. But what were your thoughts on the weekend on that?
Yeah, I thought it was a great victory, 23-point win over Cal. Looked great, Zoo, I mean, as we know, he had another double-double, does what he does. 11th double-double of the year. Kylan had double digits that game. I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
And Pelle 16, he was excellent. 6 for 7 from the field. Anyone else stand out for you in that game before we get into the down part of the weekend?
Yeah, no, I thought everybody played pretty well in that game. I thought they kind of let Cal hang around a little bit longer than maybe they should have. But I mean, we were never in threat in that game. They were going to get that victory, and Zoo played an incredible game that game. I mean, it's just finishing everything, running the court, everything you wanted from them normally you got, and everybody else just did what they needed to do. So it was a good solid road victory, in that game, and then Stanford was a little bit of a different story for us.
Yeah, well, let's waste no time, AJ. Let's get into it. Arizona lost 88-79 to unranked Stanford at the time. And this game was just, one of these games where we talk about all the time. Some of these games on the road, Arizona just their offense just can't get started and they're just not clicking. I mean,
Yeah.
this was one of Zoo's lowest scoring performances of the year. We always talk about how he's an automatic, basically 15 to 20, only had 4 points. As we know, he had 4 fouls, only played 17 minutes. But the best player by far in this game, I think by either team, was Courtney Ramey. There is some positive in the loss. Career high, 26 points, 8 3-pointers. What'd you think of Ramey? What'd you think of the loss in the game as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Courtney played great. I mean, from the very first beginning of the game, he was on fire. He hunted his shots. He took good shots. We needed every single one of those to stay in the game, really, because and Zoo. I mean, it wasn't his play. He didn't play bad. It was just some of those calls, and I usually don't want to talk about the referees, but a few of those calls are really bad for a guy that's like a national player of the year candidate. A couple tic tac fouls that really I didn't think should be called on him, and then he could just never get going. I mean, he barely played in the game, and so that really wasn't like he was missing or had a 3 for 16 game. He just didn't have opportunities to play, and so that's. But we see what that looks like. I mean, we don't want to see that happen again. We don't want him in foul trouble, especially that early in any game. But Courtney was incredible, man. I mean, he's been shooting really well, the past probably 7-8 games. But this one, I mean, he was just on fire and took really good shots, some tough shots. Even the one where he pump faked a little bit and hit it from the corner all net. I was like, ooh, man, he's cooking right now. And so it was good to see him play really well. I thought Pelle played an outstanding game defensively. He was a disruptor and really was the only one that kind of played at that level of defense. I think that we needed, that we need and that we've seen the past few games when we were the number one defense in the country. But it was a tough game. And give it credit to Stanford though, because they played really well. I mean, they have size, they have versatile wings and guys that can score the basketball, guys that can rebound, and they played really hard. And so, the 9-point difference, I really didn't think really was indicative of the game, but they did what they needed to do, and we came up short. And I don't think we had as much energy as we needed in that game.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird game because if you look at it, just the stat sheet, Arizona did shoot the ball 40%, made 14 3-pointers, but to me, it was just every time they kept, getting within a couple points, and it just seems like Arizona in this game couldn't capitalize. And, losing by 9 points when your best player normally scores that 9 points a couple times over it's really difficult. Arizona, along with Tabelis, had, 3 other players with 3 or more fouls. So I think, I think this was just, a weird game. Zoo was off. And I think this is kind of how games are going to look when Zoo is off. We don't see it a lot, but this is, I think it's really hard for this team to win when Zoo is off, considering this was, as I mentioned, Courtney Ramey's best game. So how confident are you if Zoo does have an off game? Obviously, 4 points is rarely, if ever, going to happen for the rest of the year again. But are you confident this team can win, even if he's not having, 25 points and 12 rebounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can. I know if he scores 4 now, it's going to be difficult, but I don't see him doing that. Unless it's a situation like it was last game where he just isn't on the floor, because every time that he's been on the floor this year, he's produced. So, this time it was just he wasn't able to be on the court as much as we needed him to. You talked about the 9-point difference. Also, Connor, who had only made 3 threes the entire season, hit 3 threes in that game for another 9 points. So if you put those kind of together, you know what I mean? I think that was a big factor in the game, against Stanford. But we need Zoo to play well. We know that. He's done it all year long. He's going to play, great next game. And but they did a good job of switching and playing good defense on us, making us take tough shots. We didn't finish as well around the basket as we have, in other games. And Courtney shot the ball well. I thought Kerr shot it decently well. At the end, he had a lot of good looks too, and it was still a close game. And if he knocks one of those, we still would have an opportunity to win that game, I think. And but it's just the way that it goes. On the road, anything can happen. You got to bring your absolute A+ game, and I don't think we did that against Stanford. And they've been playing better basketball as of late. Their record doesn't show it, but their talent, does. And so, but we're going to need guys to be playing at their highest rate. And so it's probably another wake-up call. It's another, things where you can fix a couple things that went wrong. And but they got games coming up that they're not going to be able to sit around and worry about it. They just got to get back on the horse and keep moving forward.
Yeah, this was Arizona's 4th loss of the season, 22-4 now. Still in second place in the Pac-12 behind UCLA, but they're only a half a game up on Utah. We'll talk about that game that's happening this weekend where Arizona looks to avenge that loss. But, Arizona is one of the best teams after they do lose a game. I've seen, after each of the 3 losses, they've won by at least 10 points in every game. So yeah, how confident are you, AJ, that this team will bounce back again? And then, the possibility that they could suffer another loss before, the NCAA tournament, because we know they have, they're playing on the road against USC, UCLA, and then, Pac-12 tournament, which hopefully they'll be playing in 3 more games.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good thing that we're playing Utah the next game, because when we have a revenge game, they've responded every single time this year. And so they're going to be ready to go. That was the first slip up of the year. Utah really gave it to us over there, and so they're going to be ready to play and get some revenge against those guys. And then Colorado's an interesting team too, man. Colorado has been kind of up and down, but they're talented. When they get hot, they're a hard team to deal with as well. And then we got Arizona State, and then obviously the big matchups that we're all looking forward to at the end of the season, in LA. But I expect us to go on another run and play good basketball. This year is, like we've talked about all year long, is teams are losing, and so it's not the end of the world. We, like you said, we've gotten better each time that we've had a loss and be able to fix some things. So hopefully it's just we build back up in a spot where we're a little bit weak, get stronger, and keep playing Arizona basketball. I'm not down on the team at all. Actually, after that game, I watched it a couple times already, and there's little things that we could have fixed, and we could have played a lot better on defense. But overall, it wasn't that bad of a showing.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are only a couple more games left, 5 to be exact, to the season. It's crazy. We're winding down here and we're almost in March, the best time of the year.
Yep.
As you mentioned, they do play Utah on Thursday at 8 o'clock, and then Colorado at 6 o'clock. The first time they're playing Colorado this year. But yeah, I think this team, like I said, it shows this team bounces back every time. So yeah, I think they will. But I wanted to ask you, AJ, how confident are you in the rotation? Because we've talked a lot about, how many guys they play. Should they play 7? Should they play 8, 9? Total 2, guys off the bench normally. throughout the season. But how confident are you that this team, with a 2-man rotation, can, go on this tough, stretch, play the schools from California, Pac-12 tournament, and then, win, a couple games in the tournament, hopefully? How confident are you that this team, only with a 2-man guys off the bench, can make that run? Or do you think they're going to need, an Adama Ball, or, a Henry Veensar or Dylan Anderson to establish a role to make that possible?
I mean, we've talked about this all year, and I still think that Adama's the guy. I still think, obviously with the 7-man rotation, Tommy's comfortable with that. Those guys have proven that they can play, in high-level basketball and in crunch time situations and do well, which is great. But I think Adama is the guy that, can provide some versatility on both sides of the ball. If he's playing confidently, he's not scared to hit a big shot. He's not scared to, lock up on defense, to get offensive rebound, those type of things. Think of his ball handling, can be shored up a little bit, more confident, in pressure situations as far as making good passes and things like that. He's the guy that I think we could get into the rotation as we move into the Pac-12 tournament and the NCAA tournament. He would be a big boost for us. And I'm sure, that's what Tommy's looking at too. And, he's been working hard in practice, and hopefully those results will start, to show in the game here as we move into the crunch time of the season, because we do need it. I mean, 7 guys, a lot of teams shorten their rotations around this time of year, and I love who we got, but I think Adama would be a benefit to us for sure.
Yeah. So do you think this team will win? Like, how many of these games down this 5-game stretch of the rest of the season, basically, do you think this team's going to win?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can win them all. That's all I'm going to say. I think we can win them all if we're playing the type of defense.
Do you think they are going to win them all?
I think we drop one. I think we'll drop
Which one?
in the 5, either UCLA or Colorado. Those are the ones that I think are dangerous. And Colorado, just because we haven't played them yet this year. I've watched them play a couple times, and they're kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team that can play really well or play really bad. So if they're playing on fire, though, they can be a tough mat-up. So, I think those 2 games are dangerous. Obviously, ASU is a rivalry game, and I think, we'll play well there, and USC, as well. But I think we'll be ready for Utah at home. I think we're going to be ready to go for that. But I mean, none of these games are easy games. There's no pushovers left, in the season. And then we're going right into the Pac-12 tournament and then the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, the rest of this year is going to be all high level, got to bring your A game competition. And so we got to be ready to do that every single time out. If we do that, we can win every game. I mean, I still think there's not a team in the country when we're playing at our highest level that we can't beat. I still believe that. I've been saying that, since the beginning of the year, through the middle when we had a couple missteps, and still till now. I still think if we're playing our top level basketball, we can beat anybody. So it's just up to our guys to be able to do that, be consistent, especially on the defensive end, because when we were doing that, you see how good a basketball we can play. But it really comes down to how well we're going to perform on the defensive end.
Yeah, I agree. This team, at their best, as we know, Zook is up there with anyone in the country, and the rest of the team, the depth is really good on this Arizona team. So yeah, I agree. This team can't compete with anybody. But so this is the time of year, AJ, as we know, when websites start to release their brackets, their predictions for seeding. I've seen Arizona most recently, seeded as a 2 seed, a 3 seed even in the East. What do you think about that? And what's your overall kind of feeling about seeding? Because, you've went through it obviously when you played, and you've experienced being a high seed and, lower. So what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's too early for that. I mean, like I said, if we can sweep all these games, I still think we'll be in the hunt for a number 1 seed. But right now, coming off a loss and kind of how the things are going right now, a 2 seed, would be good as well. I mean, I don't think anyone this year thought that we would be in this position, to start the season. So to still be in the hunt for a number 1 seed, I think is impressive for our guys. And, we'll just keep going. And having a number 1 seed comes with a lot of pressure, because when we had it in 1998, we were the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. I mean, it was great. We had a good draw, but it comes with a lot of pressure, man. So sometimes there's positives and negatives to being that number one. It's really about where you get seated, who else is in your bracket, and it's about matchups. So as long as I would love for them to be in the West so we can watch them and you maybe go out and check them out. If they make it to the Elite Eight or however far they make it, but I think there's still a lot of basketball to go before we're where we need to be. So I think we just need to keep playing good Arizona basketball and keep moving forward and putting one foot after the other and getting things done, and we'll end up right where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, there's just, just under a month left of the season, including, conference tournaments. So yeah, everything's kind of up in the air
Yeah.
right now. And as we saw last year, they were on a one seed and things didn't work out in the Sweet 16. Still getting the Sweet 16 is a big accomplishment. As even Arizona at the very least, they'll be a top 3 seed, which for Tommy Lloyd to be a top 3 seed in your first 2 years at Arizona is pretty incredible stuff. But AJ, before we go today, I want to talk about some of the Wildcats in the NBA. We're almost at the All-Star break, and there's a couple guys that'll be there this weekend. One of them, and the best Wildcat, I would say, in the NBA this season is Lauri Markkanen. He's established himself as a star in this league, averaging 25, nearly 9 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 41% from the three-point contest, 87% from the free throw line, and his, one of the league's best three-point shooters. He's established himself this year. He's going to be in the three-point contest. What do you think about Lauri? And just his progression, scoring 10 more points than he did a season ago.
Yeah, I mean, Lauri's had an incredible season. We talked to it, when JT was on the show a while back, we talked to him about Lauri's development, with JT being there in Utah with him. And really, I think he always had this in him. It was just he had to be in a position where they put him in the right spots, gave him more responsibility, and kind of let him, let his game blossom. And they've done it. They've done a great job of that in Utah. He's a matchup nightmare because he's 7 feet tall. Obviously, he shoots that percentage from the 3-point line, but he can post guys up. I mean, he'll dunk on you. He offensive rebounds. He hits floaters. Like he's just a complete offensive player. And I'm just happy for him, man, because I saw him obviously, at the Red Blue game earlier. He was coming off a great summer, with his national team as well, where he, had 30-point games and 40-point games and was playing the best basketball of his career. He really thought that he would have an opportunity to be an all-star this year and wanted to be, and now he's done that. And now he's going to be a starter too, which is awesome. And it's going to be fun to watch him. And it's well deserved. He's just going to continue to get better and better because he's one of the hardest matchups, for people to defend in the entire NBA.
Yeah, it took a little time, after being a high pick from Arizona, but he's really established himself as dominant player in this league, and it's great to see him on that, young, exciting Jazz team. But another player that is going to be competing in an event, and he's going to be in the Rising Stars game on Friday night, is Benedict Mathurin, one of the favorites for the Rookie of the Year award. As we know, he's having an incredible year. 17 points, 4 rebounds, shooting the ball pretty well. 43% from the field, 32 from 3, over 80% from the free throw line. What have you thought about him? And
Yeah.
are you kind of surprised or not? Because we know the type of player he is.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not really surprised, man, because Ben is a beast, man, and we saw it last year. I mean, he was one of the most dominant players, in college basketball last year. And really, the best thing about Ben is his confidence, man. He believes he's the best player on the court at all times. And as a rookie coming into the league, you have to believe that to be able to perform at that level. And he's gone out there and played against Braun after having his comments earlier before the season, and went out there and stood up for that. He's played really good in crunch time, really made some big time shots with them, and they've been playing good basketball. Nobody expected anything from the Pacers this year either. And so for Ben to be doing what he's doing, it's hard to score 17 points off the bench, man. And so especially as a rookie to be that consistent. And so it's good to see him get some praise and accolades for the way that he's been playing. I think he's going to put on a big time show too, on Friday. during the Rising Stars Challenge, because he's going to be having an opportunity to go out and compete against his peers, and he loves to do that. And it's just fun to see, man. It's fun to see our Wildcats out there having success, and know that, once we gave them a good foundation before they got to the league, and now it's translating over.
Yeah, it's you, like you said, he's just coming off the bench now. Imagine when he's starting. I mean, this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA for a lot of years to come. As he's having a great year and could win Rookie of the Year, depending on how Paolo Banchero plays throughout the rest of the year. But the last guy I wanted to ask you about, and he's been playing really good as of late, is Josh Green. He's averaging 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting the ball very well, over 40% from three. And the month of February, he's had over 15 points 4 times. He's been just phenomenal alongside Luka, now Kyrie Irving. What do you think about him and just kind of his development, after a guy like kind of Laurie starting slow and coming on as of late?
Yeah, I mean, all credit goes to Josh, man. He's been playing incredible basketball. It's not an easy situation when you first get into the league, and especially when you're playing for a good team. Like, there's not a lot of, it's kind of similar to what DT is going through, this year, where there's veteran guys ahead of you. You have to wait your turn. You have to put in that work, extra work every single day after practice. Even when you're not playing, you got to be ready so that when your opportunity does come, you're ready to perform on that level, crack into the rotation and play some good minutes. And Josh has done that. He's done it with his defense. First of all, that's where he first started getting minutes. And now, he's a really high level passer too, which people don't really talk about that much, but he drops dimes. I mean, he's a great scorer and a physical player. He attacks the basket. And so he's going to be a good rotation player for Dallas. He's just getting more and more minutes and getting more comfortable. And it's a credit to him and his work ethic and being able to stick through those tough times. And now it's going to pay off for him in the end with him getting more playing time and more responsibility, which is well deserved.
Yeah, I thought he could have, been this level of contributor from the beginning while being at Arizona. And it's really nice, like you said, to finally see him playing at a high level after, being, a really good player for Arizona in 1 year. But AJ, tell everybody who we have on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a good one. A guy who's returning to Bear Down Ballers this year, guy whose role has been, changing throughout the year, but a guy that gives everything that he has every single minute and second that he's on the court. One of my favorite Wildcats, Mr. Pelle Larsson, joins us next on Bear Down Ballers. Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'd like to welcome in a guy who's been the ultimate team player this year for our Cats. He's been playing his best basketball of the season of late. Mr. Pelle Larsson joins us on Bear Down Ballers. But man, what's happening, man?
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's good to see you again. Appreciate you coming back on with us.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump back real quick and talk to you about your summer that you had. And I know that's a little while back, but I always want to talk to you about it. And I haven't been able to get you on until now, but you had a great summer with the Swedish national team. And I watched a lot of those games, and you've been playing just super high level basketball against, some of the best competition in the world. Can you just talk about kind of what that experience was like and how that helped you, going into this year so far in your play this year?
Yeah, first of all, it was like a milestone I've had ever since I grew up, play for your country. And it's first time I got to play for my senior team, and it was at home too. So it was really cool experience. And the guys are really good to me, and obviously we played some of the best, if not the best player in the world. He, to be honest, he kind of broke us down. But when you play a guy like him and level like that, you kind of realize that it's not always up to you if he's gonna miss or not. All you can do is just contest and make it as hard as possible. And I think that's kind of been my mentality this season. Just make every shot, every play as hard as possible for every player. So I think it prepared me defensively more than anything for this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing, Luka's doing the same thing to everybody, man. So, yeah. Was he the toughest player that you've had to guard in your career so far, or what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like, he was just like rec center hooping, like backing you down, hitting you, putting you off balance, crossing over this way. Like, he's not fast, but he's like slow but quick. It's a weird combination.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast on ESPN like a couple months ago, and they were talking about how his metrics, even though he doesn't jump very high and he's not very fast, like his stop and go and his herky jerky is like the fastest in the league almost of anybody in the league, which was surprising to me. But I mean, you could tell because nobody can guard him, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's great, man. What's your future plans for the national team? Like, what do you have coming up with them and continuing your role with them?
Yes, I mean, the goal for us is to play for a European championship. And so every summer, we play qualifiers for European championships. And this summer it was the World Cup. So the goal now is just to make it back to the European championships. We were there a couple of years ago. And then just hoop from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity. I never got to play for USA basketball. I always wanted to, but never got that opportunity. And I know how important that is to put to guys that play overseas, man. It's big time.
Yeah.
So you've got a great start to it. So, jump into this year. I mean, you've had to play many different roles. It seems like this year, starting so far from early in the season, starting to taking the opportunity to come off and give some more consistency to the bench. Like, how have you handled that change of roles and this season, so far?
No, for me, it's been smooth. Obviously did it a lot last year. So it was nothing that was new to me, and I had experience doing it. And then obviously talked to coach about it. And, my only concern is, I just want to be out there as much as possible. So, and obviously that hasn't affected it. I'm still playing at the same level, playing the same amount of minutes. Yeah. So I don't really care if I'm out there in the beginning of the game or, whenever. I just want to be out there as much as possible. And that's the promise that he kind of kept true. And to be honest, it doesn't matter who's on the court first 4 minutes because Zoo is going to score all the points anyway. So
that's right. That's awesome. Except for the last game, man. The referees played good defense on them last game, I thought. But so you talked about it a little bit, but how is this season different for you from last season, or do you see it as similar?
No, I think last season it was especially because we were all new to having Tommy as a coach in this system, and we were new to each other, a lot of new teammates. So we were kind of growing together all the time throughout the year. And this year it's been more about, bringing guys along and then growing those relationships. So it's the start was, I think, a lot different. But then when you come down to it, like, we're in a great position to make a run in the tournament. And we got the pieces we need. And, young guys, Henry, Dylan, Adama, Philip, they're stepping up in practice too. So I think, at this time of year, anything can happen. And last year, Adama came in the Pac-12 tournament as a freshman and hit a bunch of threes against UCLA. So I think it's good that they're staying ready. And for the rest of the guys, I mean, we're still in a position to have a really good year.
Is being a leader and kind of bringing those guys along something that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, definitely. Like, because I see so much of myself in each and one of them. Yeah. Coming from Europe, your freshman year, basketball is so different. Like, the things that the coaches want are so different. So, I mean, yeah, it's also, you don't want to overcoach, like, because, we have 6 coaches on the staff telling them what to do.
Right.
So that was kind of, me and Kurt talked about that a lot in the beginning of the year, that we can't be the coach every time they make a mistake because they already got 6 people coming at them. So just trying to be that big brother and be there for them when they need anything.
Is it difficult just adjusting to life as well? I mean, is that a big part of it too? Is just how different it is living in the United States when you first get there and being comfortable, where you're at? I'm sure that's a big part of it too. That takes a little while to get used to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, most guys don't have the experience of or like usually they play a game and then they go home to their parents and eat their mom or dad's food, and like just that comfort outside the court makes you like so much more comfortable on the court.
Yeah.
And that's something I felt right away when I got here, is that comfort from everyone, from roommates, teammates, coaches, which really allowed me to, you know, not even think about it on the court. So yeah, I mean, definitely if you got something going on or you're moving or something, that's going to affect you. So I think though, they were staying, Philip and Henry were staying in the dorms, and now we got them out of the dorms to live with some roommates. So I think they're way happier this semester.
Yeah, that's way better. That's way better. I was happier when I moved out of Navajo Pinal dorms too. So, I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but it doesn't seem like there's in college basketball across the board. Doesn't seem like there's a dominant team like maybe in years past where there's like one or two teams that, hey, these guys can win the championship this year, or whatever. And the Pac-12, I don't think it gets as much credit as it should. There's a lot of good teams in the Pac-12, especially on the road. I mean, any game on the road is going to be tough there. You guys coming off, you know, a good road trip, you know, you got to win against Cal, and then, you know, had a tough game against Stanford. But how are you guys feeling after coming off that road trip? Where's your mind at, and how are you guys feeling as a team just coming off another tough, you know, Pac-12 road trip?
Our mind is at Utah. They got us last time, and we want to get them back bad.
Yep.
So right now, that's what's been on our mind. We've talked about the loss, and we've looked at it and taken away some things and moved on. You know, it's a short season. We only got five games left, so we can't be, you know, looking at our past feeling sorry for ourselves. And also we got to remember how it felt losing at Utah, and kind of let that motivate us for this game. Because for me, especially,
I know you're going to be ready. I know
Yeah.
you're ready. And so, in my opinion, I mean, I think you are the best. You have a good defensive team this year, but I think you're the best defender as far as your versatility. You can guard point guards all the way down to, you know, centers during times out on the court. Where did that passion come from for defense for you? Were you always like that growing up as a defender, or did you that kind of develop for you over time as you progressed through your career?
That was kind of when my dad played. He was kind of like defensive-minded, defensive specialist, if you would say. But you know, when you're a kid, it's all about scoring points.
Yeah.
And then I noticed when I started playing with better players that could do the similar things, that, you know, you got to stand out some way and you got to affect the game in every possible area. So then it just kind of became personal. Like also when you grow up and like, you know, you become a man, you don't want the guy in front of you to make you look bad or to have a good night. So, you know, it's a lot of mental things going on the court, and it's just like I want to be out there and affect the game however I can. So, I mean, on defense, that's half of the game at least.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you've been doing a hell of a job of it all year long, man. You've been playing really well on offense too. It's like you talked about Zoo scoring. You know, nobody's going to score usually the first 4 minutes of the game. You got a unique opportunity to play with two of the best bigs, in my opinion, the two best bigs in the country. Can you talk about what it is, what it's like playing with those guys and kind of their personality and how you guys connect on and off the court?
Yeah, I mean, we connect great off the court. Second year with each other, and I think especially those guys that stayed from last year just became closer when other guys left. And I mean, on the court, it was a learning curve last year, I would say, to all the personalities, and you got to know when to intervene or interact and stuff like that. But now we're just, that friendship is just like, you know, like when I need to go talk to him, you know, when he's good, he doesn't need to hear it. Like, so those relationships matter a lot on the court as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell that you guys like each other, which is a big deal to success. What do you think you guys need to improve on the most to make a deep run in this tournament, as you talked about earlier?
Yeah, I think we just gotta. I mean, we were one of the best defensive teams in the country for a little stretch before this California weekend, and that's what we got to get back to. I think we know our offense is good. We know it's going to come. And especially with the bigs that we have and the way we play through them. But, you know, defense, we play so many possessions of basketball, like, or possessions in the style we play. So we can't let other teams, you know, get comfortable in our pace. And that's what we did for a long stretch. And we kind of came away from it. But now we got 5 good games. And that's the most important thing right now.
Absolutely agree with that. One of the guys that's been playing, you know, really good basketball, been improving every game, I think, out there is Kylan Boswell. Can you talk about him and kind of what he's doing at his age right now, which is kind of incredible? But what are your thoughts on Kylan and his progress so far from the beginning till now?
I mean, first of all, huge maturity as how do you say, he's become a lot more mature over the season. That's I think the first thing, and that was our thing, was to just bring him on as a young guy and be like, yo, this is the team, this is your family. Now we fight not only for ourselves but for each other. Yeah. And that's what I think his biggest improvement has been when you build those relationships too. But I mean, shit, he's such a talented guy and such a good guy. Like I remember when I was that age, and I don't think I would have a chance against Kylan when he's picking me up full court. So yeah. No, it's crazy to see that he's only 17 and should be in high school technically.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the level that he's playing at right now. You know, you talked about some of the guys that left last year, obviously, you know, CeeLo, Ben, DT, in the role that those guys plays. I'm sure you have the same dream as those guys to go, you know, and play professionally, whether in the NBA or Europe after you're done playing at AZ. Do you have a player or players in the NBA or growing up that you follow that you mold your game on or try to take things from their game?
I mean, Coach Rick is always trying to put me on different European wings and how they play and send me film and stuff like that. But you know, my favorite player is actually Jokic. So I don't know how much moves I can take from him. I just enjoy watching him. But you know, when I mean, obviously Luka has influenced anyone that's in Europe playing. But yeah, I can't really say. I just I've never fanboyed over one player only crazy. It's always just been, you know, watching different players to make plays and then just taking away a few things from everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got a great game, man. So keep adding those pieces to it. Talk about your relationship a little bit with Tommy and how it's been, you know, for you so far with him of these 2 years and what he means to you and kind of, you know, what he's like to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I think trust is the biggest part of our relationship. I think there's a mutual trust and that creates mutual respect too. And what he's been able to do his first 2 years and the expectations that this program already has so early in his career with this school is kind of crazy. You know, no one expected anything, and then we came out gunning, and then this year they said, all right, but now their guys went to NBA, so they're not going to be good. And we got some of the best wins in the country so far. So yeah, huge respect to him. And you know, he's just a good guy. You don't see a lot of coaches, you know, caring about all the people around him. And I think it made a lot of people in the program realize that you don't have to be an asshole to win. And so I think he's influenced a lot of people in the school and on the staff to, you know, kind of pick up what he's been doing too.
I'm sure he's a fun coach to play for, man. Just positivity it works a lot of times, man. It's just to big people up and give them that trust and that positivity like you talked about. Okay, we got 2 more for you, and then I'm gonna let you get out of here. I've asked a lot of the guys this. First one is, where's your favorite place to eat in Tucson? What's your favorite restaurant in Tucson?
Ooh, I really like Italian place called Riley's downtown.
Okay.
And I'm sure a lot of guys would say Fleming's. I don't know, but I'm not a huge steak guy.
Yeah.
But I would probably, Riley's. It's Italian food downtown.
Okay, I haven't been to that one, so I'm gonna have to try that next time I'm in Tucson, man. And then, okay, so before the game, you're getting hyped, getting ready to go out on the court. What's on your pregame playlist as far as what are you listening to get you hyped for the game, man?
We actually talked about this in me and Kurt's podcast. Like, I'm not a huge like music hyping me up before pregame. Like, I'll probably listen to maybe 1 or 2 songs walking into the arena, and then I just take them out and just talk to people and listen whatever's on in the arena music. But I mean, recently it's been Eminem, so I kind of went back to my 10-year-old personality and started listening to some Eminem again. Yeah.
That's solid. I like that, bro. We've had a lot of different answers on it, so nobody's said the same thing the whole time through. So it's been great, man. So, all right, Pelle, man, I appreciate you, brother. Keep playing the way that you're playing, doing what you do. Keep leading these guys as far as you can this year. And much love to you for always coming on the podcast and doing this stuff. So have a good week this week, and we'll see you next time.